Okay, we're back. Painting this barn with the Texas A&M logo on the roof. I have finished the roof. As I mentioned before, when I was working on the tree, this more upright plane of the old metal roof is darker because it receives less sunlight than the flatter plane of this portion, these two portions of the roof. They receive more sunlight because they're flatter, and so the sun coming down hits them more directly. The angled roof doesn't get quite as much sunlight, so this part of the roof is darker. I also then went back, I mentioned that I was going to highlight the trunk of the tree, and where the sun filters through the leaves, it hits the trunk there. Now I'm going to work on the old wood of this barn, and I've got mixes of cadmium orange plus white plus ultramarine blue, and I'm just going to drag over the color that's there. I don't want to just repaint it entirely, but I want to drag over that to give a rough texture and just accentuate those old boards that are catching the sunlight. And this forward edge of the barn is going to be warmer and lighter, and as it goes back then it gets cooler. You can see that here, and I'm going to accentuate that even more. But I just put the paint, load my brush with the paint, and then just lightly drag it down. So I get that nice texture, and that just gives the feeling of those old weathered boards. As we go back, they get a little bit bluer. I'm going to add just a little bit blue back here just to kind of gauge where I am. And this is actually some of the blue from the roof. It's that same combination of colors, the ultramarine blue plus cadmium orange plus white, but this has more blue in the mixture. And so I just bring some of those blues over these boards back here. Just to cool that down to take it back. Warm colors come forward, cooler colors go back. Blues are cooler, oranges are the blues that I'm using back here are cooler than this mixture of the same colors, but it has more cadmium orange in it. This comes forward because it's warmer, because of the cadmium orange. And just a little warmth right in here. Not much, but just it's starting to come forward. And these are all the same colors, just in different proportions. But you can see how that just adds a lot of texture to that wood. Just gives the feeling of that old barn wood. And this is a pulley that they use to lift hay up into the hayloft, and it's casting a shadow. I'll accentuate that more. Again, this was enlarged from a smaller piece. The original of this, I think, was 24 inches tall by 30 inches wide, and we've made it into a 40 by 60. So we've had to enlarge it, and in that enlarging, then the image gets a little soft or a little unfocused. So this is just coming back in, and we're adding crispness. Is that a word? We're crispening up. I don't know, but we're adding more detail and a lot more texture, and just giving this wood more character. And I'll do the same thing in the shadows. And it's the same mixes, just different proportions of the colors. Less white in this. I'm going to come back here and add some of those blues into this, into that shadow of the boards back here. That roof casts the shadow down. just adds a lot of character to those boards, as well as sharpening up the image. We just want to make sure that we get the cooler colors back here. That makes that part of the barn recede. And then as we come forward, we get warmer colors. A little bit too light, so I can just come back and drag over that. Drag some of the darker color over it. Oh gosh, these old barns, they're just, you find them all around Texas, and unfortunately, over the years, Jack and I, gosh, over the 26 years we were together, we met in 1990, and we would drive and just take pictures of all those old barns, and many of the ones that we took pictures of are no longer standing. They've just fallen into the ground. It's sad to see those old barns disappearing. People just replace them with metal barns that don't require as much maintenance, and I can understand that, but oh my goodness, I hate seeing those old barns just disappear. They are so beautiful, and can you imagine the stories they tell if those walls can talk? Wow. How cool would that be? Ooh, that got a little bit too bright. But it's easy enough to just come back and drag color over that, and that gives it just more character. I'll also highlight the fence. I'm not going to do that in this video, but that'll also be repainted and highlighted so that the images or the edges are sharp, and it warm it up where the sun's hitting the tops of those rails. Well, I'm just getting that way too light, but I'll just come back over with my darker color. Now, I mentioned in also my other video, the one where I was doing the tree, that I was going to put a lucky horseshoe in this. So here we go. This is a mixture of my mud, which is 2 parts of ultramarine blue and 1 part of alizarin crimson. And I've mixed liquid into that to make it pretty fluid, make a wash. But okay, let's see. The center of our door is, let's see, there's. So the center of the door is here. And you always, horseshoes, if you're putting a horseshoe over a door, you always put the ends up so that it's like this. And the reason you do that, there's a very good reason for that. I'll tell you in just a minute. That's a big horse. I think I got that a little bit too big. I can just wash this out. I can just wipe that off. I'll just pull some of my paint over that. Anyway, the reason that you put the horseshoe in that orientation is so the luck won't run out. With the ends of the horseshoe pointing up, the luck will stay in the horseshoe. If you turned it the other way, your luck would run out. So that's an old legend, old wives' tale, whatever. But if you're going to put a lucky horseshoe over your door, you want to make sure that the ends are up. Okay, let's, center is here. All right, and that's probably a draft horse still. That's a big one, so that's got to be a draft horse for that horseshoe. But you want to keep, well, I'm going to mess it up. These old barns, if you go in them, like an old abandoned barn, it's amazing all the old harness and tool heads and things that you find. Just all abandoned. also going to put a few little just splits in the boards where maybe they've really big cracks, and again, just adds character to this old barn. This gives a feeling of just, it's really an old weathered. This has seen lots of storms and sun, and not sure, well, depending on where it is in Texas, it could see snow. South Texas it wouldn't, but if it's up in the northern part of Texas, it would. This is in the hill country, so, but even in the hill country we get snow sometimes. We've had snow in San Antonio, so, but even up around Dallas you get the blue bonnets and all. Now I thought I want to bring this. It's a little bit light. We want to accentuate that leading edge. Now what I'm going to do is I went over a little bit, and I've not painted this other, so I can take a clean brush, I've cleaned it out in thinner, wipe it with tissue, and then I can just take that brush and go along this and straighten that edge. Let me do it this way, see if I can do it left-handed. There you go. So that straightens that edge. We're going to do a little bit of just some highlights on the tops of the barn doors. In fact, I'm just going to use white for this. The light really catches the tops of these old doors. And then I'm going to do that beam that comes out. Now this pulley is, I'm using my mud again, my mud wash. The pulley comes down. And I'm not going to worry about putting the rope, because that's, who knows where that is by now. But we've got our pulley up there. Need to make it a little bit bigger. These pulleys are pretty big. They carry a lot of weight. Light's going to hit the front edge of that, and it hits the top of this beam and also the front edge of the beam. This will be a little bit darker because this is upright. The upright plane is going to be darker than the flat plane. It's like the roof, it receives less light. So there's our pulley, our beam. I've highlighted this side of the barn. And I really appreciate you watching my YouTube videos. You have a wonderful, wonderful day. And just be kind to somebody today. Just give somebody a hand or be encouraging. If somebody has an idea, say, you know, hey, I think that would work. Go for it. See what you can do with it. So just be an encourager. And you just have a wonderful, wonderful day. And thank you again for visiting my studio, for watching my video. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can also visit my blog. The link's in the description below. The address is also on the final frame of my video. You can also subscribe to that and get an email every time I make a post. So you have just a wonderful, wonderful day, and thank you again.